Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, City of Tumwater Public Works Committee meeting. With us, we have Council Member Althauser and myself, Council Member Swarthout. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the October 9th, 2025 meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion approved. And now moving on to the interlocal agreement with Thurston County and the cities of Olympia and Lacey for the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative. And take it away, Alyssa Jones Woods. Thank you.
Good morning. Do you all see my presentation screen correctly?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning. I'll be presenting on a replacement ILA for the current Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative ILA that we currently have. This is a replacement because we're adapting to some changes that will hopefully help us cut down on some of the administrative work so we can spend more time implementing, is the intention. So quite a few things have changed since the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan was first developed, and as conditions change, we try to adapt to become more efficient. The TCMP was drafted between 2018 and 2020, adopted or accepted by the jurisdiction parties in 2020, which a lot of change happened in 2020 period. In 2023, each jurisdiction had hired staff to lead implementation, and it's worth noting that the plan was written with the understanding that there wouldn't be staff. So then in 2024, we updated the interlocal agreement and created a guidance document to clarify roles, responsibilities, and how we implement the plan, since it changed from previously not considering having staff to then having full-time staff in all 4 jurisdictions. In 2024, staff implemented regional initiatives such as the Energize Thurston campaign and the development of a home energy score model ordinance. And those annual regional initiatives quickly became cumulative and long-term. So later this year, or at least in the case of Tumwater in early 2026, we will adopt the climate elements of our comprehensive plans, which incorporates all actions from the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan plus 100+ additional ones. With this new requirement, the state does greenhouse gas emission inventories for the county every 5 years. We're required to do resilience work, so a number of other changes have happened. Meanwhile, at the state level, since 2018, a lot of things have changed. We have the Clean Energy Transformation Act, Clean Buildings Performance Standards, the California Vehicle Emissions Zero Emission Vehicle Standards, HEAL Act, Climate Commitment Act, Organics Management, a lot of, and HB 1181, which is the mandatory climate planning. So a lot of things have changed policy-wise as well as in the world since we first accepted and developed the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan. So this is in replacement ILA as kind of a representation of us doing adaptive management of the climate plan and the reality that we are in. Just as a refresher, I know both of you know this, so I'll go through it really quickly. The Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative is Tumwater, Lacey, Olympia, and Thurston County. We have 3 additional parts of the Venn diagram. In addition to the jurisdictions, we have the executive committee, which Councilmember Swarthout is the chair of the executive committee. We have the community advisory work group, which meets almost monthly at this point, and our staff team, all of which work together to try to produce good work products that can then be brought to the jurisdictions for action. So getting into the nitty-gritty of the changes. Again, this is not an amendment, but a full replacement. In the past, we have had to do an additional interlocal agreement for each regional initiative in each phase. So for instance, in developing the Energize Thurston program, we had this standard ILA for the TCMC, then we did one additional one for us to work on planning the program, then we did an additional one for us to implement the program. This streamlines that process so that regional initiatives are part of a work plan. We don't have to go to contracting so often, or not contracting, but to council to give you all updates on agreements as often. This gives us the flexibility to do those regional initiatives at the annual or less than annual cadence, depending on staff capacity. It creates a biennium budget and work plan. This is not really a big change from the last ILA or the ILA that we're currently in. We do this, and it's actually timed to be most convenient for City of Tumwater for our budget, our biennium, and our deadlines. And we have a work plan. So instead of we have the standard tasks that are constantly done. So the executive committee meetings, the community advisory work group meetings, so on and so forth. This puts all of that in a work plan as opposed to being standing tasks and then a separate regional initiative process. We had an annual retreat this year, in which case everyone that was there unanimously stated that they didn't think that we needed to do an administrative update to the plan this year, that it would be administratively burdensome and expensive and maybe not that beneficial. We've changed the ILA to say that full plan updates may be delayed or canceled by the executive committee if they determine that a full plan update is not needed at this time, and minor administrative updates to the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan would be approved by the executive committee and not brought to the jurisdictions. An example of a minor administrative update is inserting new greenhouse gas inventory information into kind of the explanatory first parts of the plan. Not changes to the actions, not changes to the strategies, fixing typos, duplicative actions, updating data. That's what an administrative update is to us. There's a lot on this slide, and I realize there's a lot of words, so sorry about that. Greenhouse gas inventory, it updates the frequency of greenhouse gas inventories. The executive committee voted to do a cadence of full, dash inventory being a quicker inventory that looks at our highest emitting sectors as opposed to all sectors. That gives us kind of a quick snapshot of where we are. This is also included in Thurston County's ICLEI membership, so it's not an additional cost, but we still are able to track on an annual basis from a high level. This change in the ILA, or the replacement part of this ILA, also adds flexibility to utilize greenhouse gas emission inventories that are carried out on our behalf. For instance, this last year, the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative completed our full greenhouse gas inventory. And Department of Commerce did one for Thurston County too. We didn't know that that was happening before we then spent the time and funding to do our own, which was then replicated with slight changes by Department of Commerce. And we expect to get these Department of Commerce countywide inventories every 5 years. So perhaps we'll do dash, and then we get the full Commerce one as a cost efficiency and not trying to duplicate work. Also with our climate elements, we will now be held to those standards, that greenhouse gas inventory from Department of Commerce, and tracking progress on every 5-year basis based on those results from Commerce. So if we could just defer to the Commerce inventory, that would be most beneficial so that we don't have 2 different inventories, 2 different baselines, 2 different approaches and reporting timelines. And then the last part of this particular slide is progress reports will now follow the greenhouse gas inventory schedule. So as you all probably hear often, as I do as well, the public doesn't think that we're doing much as it relates to implementing the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan. And staff spend a lot of time, effort, and funding from the jurisdictions to put out an annual report every year, but apparently people aren't reading it. I went out and asked the people that we hear from the most about climate action, and only one of them had actually read any of our annual reports. So in order to cut down the administrative work that isn't serving us at this point, we're going to reduce the cadence of the annual reports. It's hard for anyone to want to read a 30-page PDF document at this time. I get that. So jurisdictions can report more frequently, but the collective or the collaborative will pool funds to do a progress report less frequently now, so that we're kind of meeting where the community is receiving us, so to speak. Another large change. So as I'm sure you all are also aware, some of the jurisdictions that are part of the TCMC are having some budget troubles. And in some cases, the climate programs have been put on lists for cuts or definitely reductions. So we have replicated this clause from the REAP ILA that includes the same jurisdictions to adapt to those changing budget conditions in case jurisdiction cannot allocate the full amount for a work plan. Jurisdictions will still cover the base funding, but if they don't have enough to chip in for a regional initiative or chooses not to work on that regional initiative, they can opt out of both the costs and the benefits of that. So we'll still proceed with the base funding, but say, for instance, we're doing a vehicle map. That's not a good example. In future, there will be regional initiatives that are suggested, and this allows us to continue to move forward, even if one or two jurisdictions are having budget troubles or politically disagree with the direction. It'll still allow the jurisdictions that are still part of the TCMP to move forward with those and focus the efforts. I'm not sure if I explained that super well, so I'll just move on to the other one and then it's questions. The last change is that we updated the notice section for the 21st century. So now we can do notices via email in addition to postal mail. So for instance, with the previous additional clause, if jurisdiction doesn't have funding for all of the parts of the work plan, they will provide written notice and staff team will meet within 14 calendar days. Sometimes it takes longer than that for the mail to reach us. So in order to make sure that we're able to, especially me at a different building than where the mail gets received, this helps us stay in line with the timelines that we put in and also just use a more common way that we already communicate to adapt for that. So I'm happy to take questions. I can stop sharing my screen, but here is the proposed action.
All righty. That was a lot. I know I've been through it with you before and had a chance to digest it. I know it's going to, you suggested it go to consent, and I'm with you too until we get to that, the last part about the administrative piece that I would like to have council see it, but then I wonder too, Michael, does they have the opportunity to pull it if they want to learn more about it? Because I just want to be sure that that people realize that we really, the work and the effort that's being put, that you're doing and that the jurisdictions are doing, the team that's been put together, that we're working towards this goal and as far as the climate plan goes. So
yeah, I think that particularly Joan would probably pull this anyway to the regular calendar because this is so near and dear to her heart for so many important reasons. The one, so I think like consideration makes sense for this one. The one question I have to just make sure I understand, Alyssa, could you sort of re-explain? So we're doing an ILA that will result in us having to do less tinkering of the ILA for little bitty changes in the future. Can you explain that? Again, I wasn't quite tracking how that functionally will change.
Yes. So we've tried to make some of the language a little bit more vague related to like meeting frequency, for instance. We have a guidance document that has kind of the procedures for how we meet and how we do work. That is based off of the exact language from the interlocal agreement. But this we're proposing as part of this ILA. Thank you for mentioning this because I forgot to mention it. That guidance document would be updated by the executive committee and not necessarily need to go to the jurisdiction parties. So if we change a meeting frequency, so for instance, at the annual retreat this year also, the folks that were there, and we then brought it up with the CAW 2 nights ago to make sure that everyone consented to it too, to reduce the number of CAW meetings or community advisory work group meetings. Without doing this interlocal agreement, that change would have needed us to go through 12 layers of legal review just to make a change to the meeting frequency. So we have it vague in the interlocal agreement, and we have the ability for all 4 jurisdictions to still consent to a meeting frequency change or small changes to process or procedure in that way through the guidance document that would go to the executive committee, which is a public open meeting that allows public comment, so on and so forth, public noticing, all of that.
Got it. So we're essentially just building in some more administrative flexibility so that the group can essentially function more efficiently rather than having to take months of sort of more bureaucratic red tape to make little changes to how we do business. That makes sense.
Precisely. Yep. I believe that we're doing a lot for climate work, but the public doesn't necessarily see it the same way. And when we spend a lot of our time doing these bureaucratic processes, then it does actually reduce the amount of time that we can work on the action. So this is to help us have more time that we can spend on implementation to continue to do the good work that I think that we've been doing, and still keep it transparent, but just a little less of having to come to meetings, write staff reports, go through legal reviews of, for this one, for instance, Karen saw it 3 times, this interlocal agreement, before it came to you all and all of the other jurisdictions. So it went through 12 times of legal review to get to you here. So reducing that administrative burden would be really helpful for us to have more time to implement.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. For anecdotally, when I run into folks just in the community and we talk about climate, what I hear is not necessarily that we're not doing anything for climate, but that the problem is so immense that people feel challenged by the scope and the gravity of the things that we're facing. Like I've heard a lot of really positive things from community members about the things we are doing. And so I just want to give that a teeny bit of airtime of that we're doing great stuff. And I think the community realizes some of that and is also urging us to do more simultaneously.
Thank you. I get mostly the critical comments, so it's nice to hear the constructive ones also.
Yeah, it's hard, and I appreciate that too. I want to celebrate. Oh, our attorney came out, so go ahead, Karen.
Oh no, please finish. I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
Oh no. Go ahead. I'm sure you had go ahead.
I just wanted to point out we have several items under consideration on November 3rd already. So obviously we defer to wherever you would like to place this on your agenda. But I did want to point that out and maybe suggest that an update on the activities of the group at some point would be appropriate, as opposed to sticking this on considerations, which seems more administrative. As you mentioned, anyone could pull this off of consent. But again, I'll leave that to you. I just wanted to point that out.
And if I could note, in that same meeting, I will be sharing the closeout information and potentially up to 3 videos from our community members in Tumwater about the Energize Thurston campaign. So there will be a bit, I think it's at the special projects aspect about Energize Thurston at that same meeting. So there will be some celebration of progress, if that helps.
Yeah, that would be great. I see that one on there as well, because that is a good one. So, okay. Yeah, we have our strategic plan. There's quite a bit on consideration as well. I just want to celebrate. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to interject. Yeah, we were actually talking about the schedule yesterday and didn't have a chance to connect up with Alyssa yet. And we're going to potentially be moving those items. So there'll be more time to talk about probably all of the scope of this stuff, with council at the next possible meeting for us, just given the nature of the stuff on council consideration for council at that November 3rd meeting. So sorry I didn't have a chance to check in with you about that yesterday, Alyssa, but we're looking at other dates if possible. But there is a lot to share here for sure, and celebration is absolutely in order for this stuff too, because it is good work.
So help me understand where we are now. Are we on consent or consideration for this item? So I'm not.
If you wanted,
I'm excused from the meeting on the 3rd, so I'll defer to you, Eileen.
I was going to suggest, if you did want to do a consideration item, maybe just move it to the next council meeting, and then there could be more time for discussion, if needed at that next council meeting on November.
Yeah, consent is fine, Eileen. I think like Joan could pull it if she wants to.
Yeah, because even on the 18th, we have the strategic plans on that day too. We kind of spread it out. We've got it on that one as well. Looking at it's kind of light. We've got the agenda, legislative agenda, the strategic plan again, and then the Public Parks is on consideration for the 18th. So I don't know. I don't have.
It
I
sounds
know
like
that Lisa had an appointment this morning, so we don't have Administrator Parks with us right now. So,
Right.
um,
So
yeah.
let's consider it this way. Let's if you wanted to have it as a consideration item, let's just say that it'll be a consideration item at the next available council meeting, and it may very well be after we look at the and kind of reconsider with Lisa that it'll be the November 3rd meeting or the 18th or the next possible one as well, maybe even a work session too. So there's some more multiple possibilities there, but it sounds like y'all wanted it for consideration. Just because of the nature of some of the changes might spur some additional interest and to have some additional time to talk about some of the other stuff that Alyssa and the region has been working on as well.
Yeah, again, I think for Councilmember, oh, go ahead, Karen.
Well, I'm just, you only really have 3 more meetings for the year, and they're going to be jam-packed with budget and strategic planning, amongst other things. So I think if you want it on consideration, go ahead and stick it there. Because otherwise you'll be looking at next year if you try to find a meeting, I think, that isn't jammed packed. So I would recommend, you just put it on November 3rd and we go from there.
And if I may add some context, City of Tumwater is the lead for our 2026 regional initiative, the Vehicle Miles Traveled Gap Analysis. And in order for Olympia to be able to utilize funds that were allocated for this, because this initiative was delayed, we do need to be under contract before the end of the year. It normally takes about a month or so for the ILAs to get fully executed. So if I could push for sooner, that would be most ideal so that all the other dominoes can still remain in play as planned.
Well, if we can work with Administrator Parks on, because it looks like we've got on the strategic plan 2 times. So we can work on that one as far as like balancing the 3rd and the 18th. We can work on that. If we could put it on consideration for the 3rd, then okay. That would be great.
I move we place the ILA with Thurston County and cities of Olympia and Lacey for the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative on the November 3rd, 2025 City Council consideration calendar with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
Okay. All right, I'll second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Alyssa.
Thank
we
you.
Want to celebrate. Thank you. Okie doke. All right, moving on to our next item on the agenda. We have the resolution number R 2025-016 Small Works Roster. And Dan, you're up.
Hello and good morning again. Sorry for that confusion of that last round there. And you both are absolutely right. It's fantastic work. It deserves to be celebrated. And if we have some time before the end of this meeting, I know Alyssa has at least one I guess commercial or video that was taken on the work that they've been doing, and it's fantastic. You can get a sneak preview of that if we have some time for that. So
it's not quite final yet, so I will pause on that.
Okay, well, maybe next time. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. I have a really brief presentation for this one. This is a fairly quick item for you all. It's a basically an administrative change that we're working on. The state
we're seeing your notes screen. Sorry.
Oh, they're not even the right notes. So this is just a template that I pulled. Okay. There we go. That better?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So this is administrative change relating to the MRSC. This is the Municipal Research Services Council that we are a member of. Basically, as MRSC, I think, as you know, if there any kind of information that the cities are looking for, they can provide for us. They do research for cities. They also provide a roster of consultants, and it's a directory that connects businesses with the city in the various areas that we do business. And this particular change is relative to the small works contractors. Those are the painters, the carpenters, the electricians, concrete work, HVAC. The various projects that the city can get engaged with that we need to procure some services from. The state had, for equity and efficiencies in the state procurement rules, had repealed RCW 3904-155 and replaced it with 3904-151. And so that prompted that the city needed to make a change because our resolution adopting our ability to use the MRSC rosters was based on 3904-155. This is really an administrative update with that needs council support and approval. We have been a member of the MRSC since 2010 and utilizing their rosters since 2010, and it has been helpful to us in a number of projects. Most recently, thinking about the work that we had done to remodel the building that houses WRS, now Water Resources Sustainability, went through a small works, used the MRSC roster for that project. And so basically it's any project $350,000 or less. We utilize the city purchasing manual to make sure that we're staying on track with the state rules. As we know, our legal office fixes or makes sure that purchasing manual, which is easy to read, is helpful to us and is kept up to date. Here's just a selection. This is a dashboard of some of the projects that the city utilizes this roster for at small works level. And you can kind of just see it's used by facilities, it's used by transportation engineering, it's used by water resources. You can see some of the projects that we have open requests for contractors. The nice part about it is, anybody that registers for this, in any particular category, you can have anywhere between 10 and 50 or more contractors for us to be able to review qualifications and request bids for if that's the appropriate route for us. So with that, fairly quick item, asking committee to place resolution R 2025-016, a small works roster on the November 3rd city consent calendar with a recommendation for the mayor to approve or recommendation to approve the mayor to sign. Do you have any questions?
No, seems pretty straightforward. How about you, Councilmember Althauser?
No questions. Pretty simple administrative change.
All right, so we concurred. It will take a vote to place the resolution on the consent calendar. I'll go ahead and say it again. Place the resolution number R 2025-016, the small works roster on the November 3rd, 2025 City Council consent calendar with the recommendation to adopt.
So moved.
I'll second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. Now get my agenda back up again.
If I read my schedule correctly, I think I'm up next for you as well again.
There we go with a longer title. Okay.
Class A plus reclaimed water demonstration project. And this was a regionals title selection, so I really couldn't keep that shorter for you. So we're doing a reclaimed water demonstration project with the Lot Clean Water Alliance. This came up, it was kind of this project kind of morphed over the last couple of years in conversations with Lot and some of our other regional water purveyors, City of Lacey, City of Olympia. And the reality is, all of our oops, go back. All of our communities are facing challenges in terms of water supply. As the population continues to grow, people move into the area, the water supply, is stretched thin. And there is no new water, as we say. The amount of water we have here today is the amount of water we're going to have here tomorrow, and has been here for hundreds and thousands of years and millennia, and will be into the future as well if we use it appropriately. And so, in a sense, they are finite. We need to make sure that every drop of water we use, we're using as wisely as we can. In 2024, we completed a source of supply study. Recognizing the challenges around acquiring new water rights. And so that's the city is not going to be able to, in the near future, in under current rules, be able to withdraw new water or extract additional water out of the Deschutes River or the aquifers underlying the watershed. And that's really just due to the fact that, again, it's finite. You have a certain amount of water that's available to you. And that water is also available to, the other natural resources, our lakes, our streams, our creeks, and is subject to in-stream flows. And these in-stream flows are subject to rules to make sure that we're being protective of salmonid salmon species and other critters and humans that utilize the creeks. So we recognize that we're not going to get new water rights very easily. So we looked at what are the next two options, top two options for us. And we looked at a suite of options, including desalinization, putting dams up in the Deschutes watershed, and we went through like every potential option there could be for acquiring additional water or expanding the water supply. And the top two most, and I say easily implementable, it's still going to be a challenge. We still have a lot of work to do, is adopting a kind of enhanced, increased, or expanded water conservation program. Theoretically, if we apply a lot of best management practices, we get a lot of good behavior change, and we adopt some different rules on how water is used in our community, we could increase the amount of water we have available through our existing water rights by about 20%. And so just last week, Alex Kate Halvey with us now is hired specifically to do water conservation work for us. And so we're going to be updating our water conservation plan over the course of the next year, and adopting new metrics and new goals for the city to achieve, and then really get out there in the community, likely starting with the city, the operational irrigation choices that we make, things like that, then working with some of our larger providers or our larger irrigators in the commercial and in the school districts, and then rolling it farther down from there, and ideally achieving that 20% over the course of the next 10 years or so. The top option for us was the expansion of reclaimed or recycled water. This really kind of looks at, kind of being a leader in environmental sustainability. It's long been a goal of council for us, and it's long been our goal as well. And so how can we best utilize reclaimed water, recycled water in our community to reduce the demand on potable water or our water rights? And as you know, we've got a couple of examples, and some really excellent examples of the golf course, where we're now irrigating with reclaimed water at the golf course, and we acquired those water rights to convert those to potable use for our community. And over the next couple of years, as we continue working on new production wells to put the brewery well field water back to work, we would also be putting the golf course water back to work, so to speak. And so this Class A plus reclaimed water demonstration project really came out of a concept of how do we utilize this? How do we develop, utilize the leadership that Lots employed over the last 30 plus years in advanced water treatment, and their expertise and excellence in regional coordination, to bring folks together to determine, hey, how much further can we utilize this water? How much further can this water be treated? So that way, we might have this as an additional resource, in 20, 30, 40 years down the road, when the time comes, to be able to use this potentially as a potable resource for us. And so, really right now it's just kind of looking at it. Is this an option? Are the state regulators, Department of Health, Department of Ecology, do they understand the treatment technologies that could be employed out there? We know reclaimed water has been used for potable needs in many areas across the world and across the country, to help augment potable water supplies, or where there's other critical shortages, whether it's from drought or contamination. Reclaimed water is an option. And so, we wanted to look at that a little bit, and we wanted to also have an opportunity to bring some community awareness to the ways reclaimed water is being used and being used today, and how it could be used into the future. As you know, also downtown Lot, we have, or right next to Lot, the Hands-On Children's Museum, there is the creek that's full of reclaimed water, and that was one of the first of its kind. Just as this demonstration project would be the first of its kind in the state as well, kind of looking at this as a resource. And so over the course of the next year plus, it's already been kind of underway for the last, since about 2024, when conversations started with the regional water purveyors, and thinking about, water supply in 20, 30, 40 plus years. Where do we anticipate, seeing that coming from? And from that conversation, Lot, really kind of grabbed hold of it and took the vision to bring regulators together, Department of Health, Department of Ecology again, to sit down at the table and talk about, what would the levels of treatment need to be to make sure that it was potable, of potable quality for use. So, lots also brought together communication professionals, educators, and watershed partners and caretakers to really kind of round out the kind of the consortium, the planning committee, the action committee, for this. And so as we walk along to the next couple of years, right now we're looking at installing and operating two different multi-step treatment systems. Two different ways that the communities could treat the water, or lot could treat reclaimed water to get it to a drinking water quality. And over the course, once those treatment trains are employed, then we can monitor and test those water to make sure that it's safe and continues to meet Class A standards as it makes its way all the way through those treatment trains and post treatment as well. Once we've been qualified that and the regulators feel comfortable that the product is a good quality product, a high quality product, then we can engage local businesses to make beer and other products using that water. And again, this is a demonstration project, so this wouldn't be, put into anybody's water system. These would be standalone systems that the water would be treated and utilized for these products. And it could be used in food, it could be used in beer, it could be used in kombucha. I mean, there's a whole suite of options that are on the table for consideration for this demonstration work. And then once the products have proved themselves out, then really kind of rolling this out to the community in some way, ideally at public events. And Tumwater is pretty well suited for potentially rolling this out at some of our high profile events as the kind of the center of the craft brewing and distilling district. Really some good opportunities there for us. So as I mentioned, kind of our goals are really to demonstrate how to safely clean used water to drinking water quality, to test and compare multi-treatment methods, foster curiosity and excitement about what is possible when it comes to water recycling, and then at the end, encouraging community conversations about the future of our resources, where that next source of water is going to come for us. Overall, the project's $2+ million and primarily being funded by lot. This interlocal agreement for you today is to demonstrate the city of Tumwater's commitment and to share in some of those costs. Obviously, it's not an equal cost share for $2+ million. Lot is really taking the largest burden of the financial costs on for this, and while the purveyors, Tumwater and Lacey and Olympia are looking at this from a source of supply issue, Lot's also looking at how to utilize reclaimed water to lower the permit conditions or the discharges that they face under continually and ever tightening permit requirements, which reduces the amount of discharge that they can have out into Puget Sound. So overall, more reclaimed water generation has a large benefit to Lot as well. So it's kind of two different rationales, but all leading to the same ends for us. Tumwater's commitment is $30,000 a year, $60,000 in total for a 2-year program. And I believe Lacey and Olympia are both paying $50,000 a year as part of their shares into this. With that, I would ask if there's any additional questions. And one of the kind of the concept points that we think about, and I know I've talked with you about previously, is that all water is recycled. The water that we're drinking today is the same water that was around when the dinosaurs were here. When we think about utilizing reclaimed water in this demonstration project and beyond, the rationale is really to judge it by its quality and not its history. And so at the end of the day, the treatment trains prove themselves out. You're left with high quality drinking water that is ultimately recycled in a faster way than maybe Mother Nature would have done it independently. And so just pause there for any questions that you might have on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, but my question, when we were looking at, you mentioned sort of going through different options we have for conservation. Does conservation include addressing like leaks in our system? Like I remember a briefing we had a couple of years ago where I think it was I remember being alarmed by the amount of water we just have due to leaks in old pipes and infrastructure. I'm wondering if that is included, and if not, we also probably included sort of a cost benefit analysis. And obviously digging up pipes and replacing them is much, much, much more expensive than other options. But I'm just sort of curious where that falls on kind of the scale of these things.
Yep. So we have an annual leak detection program. So every 5 years we've completed a full sweep of the city. Sometimes even faster than that, depending on the amount of leaks that are found. From year to year. And so our goal is actually to be less than 5% in unaccounted for water or lost water, which also includes leaks. And so, every year we go around, we do some kind of like sonic testing where we kind of basically listen, for those leaks. We check, through our meters processes, we do that. So yes, in overall concept, leak detection is part of a conservation effort. And we do have a routine and regular program that we implement.
We're not at 5%, like that's the goal, but we're
That's our
more
goal.
than that, right?
Right. We are less than 10, which is a state requirement. We're less than 10. And our goal is 5%, is less than 5%. And we've come close. And I want to say there was at least 1 year where we dropped below 5%, and we were all pretty excited about that. And, but then something happened the following year, we pumped back up a little bit, but we're still below the state requirement of 10% and but above our goal.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. That was the only question I had, Eileen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. If we can, figure out where it's leaking into. So we've got so many the pipes up on Tumwater Hill, right? So all right. Well, do we have any other questions then? This is exciting. Who gets to be the first one that drinks the product? Has anything been produced yet that we know of?
There's been no water produced yet. We're still working with the regulators to determine the appropriate testing methods, and the results of those testing methods should produce. And then once we have those numbers and metrics, then we would be able to kind of treat the water to those standards and to those requirements. And then that would be ready for potential tasting, if you will, but also considering how we would utilize this water for beer manufacturing, other things out there, because we want to make something that's also not just beer. We want to make stuff that is available that for everybody within the community to be able to share if there's an interest for it, and to have available at some point in the future. Yeah, that's exciting. Well, good. All right. So we do have a recommended action before us to place the interlocal agreement with Lot Clean Water Alliance for the Class A plus reclaimed water demonstration pilot on the November 3rd, 2025 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Well, thank you, Dan. That's exciting. All right. So with that, we have now reached the end of our agenda. Do we have any other items for the good of the order? Okay. All right. With that, I will call the Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 City of Tumwater Public Works Committee meeting adjourned. Have a great day out there, guys. Take care.